Hello and welcome to another episode of the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Connor Moreno, lead writer for UCLA Bruins on SI. And today we're getting into our kind of Week 7 recap as we work towards UCLA's next game. As you know, last episode we talked about UCLA's dominating win against Michigan State. They beat them 38-13, really stamped themselves and proved that they're not one-hit wonders, as Tim Skipper kind of quipped the entire week leading up to it. So today I thought we would talk about UCLA's remaining opponents, how they did in the week, and a lot of shakeup in the AP Top 25, because I'll tell you what, UCLA's schedule just got a ton of a lot harder. If you look at, the AP rankings and how much you judge opponent skill off of that. And in general, ESPN FPI, the Football Power Index, has UCLA's remaining strength of schedule as the toughest schedule in the entire nation. So we're going to talk about that, talk about their opponents, how they did, what that means for UCLA moving forward, and kind of preview the, just a little preview of the matchup coming up against Maryland. So yeah, let's get right into it. I wrote about this on UCLA Bruins on SI. UCLA's not only did their remaining strength of schedule become the nation's toughest according to ESPN's Football Power Index, but their amount of ranked opponents doubled after the week. Before, they had only 2 ranked opponents left on their schedule, which were Indiana and Ohio State. Now they have 4. And that is 4 out of the 6 games as of right now that UCLA has to play against a ranked opponent to close out the season. This is important because UCLA is trying to complete a turnaround. I wouldn't doubt that a bowl game is kind of sitting in the back of the minds of UCLA fans, UCLA players, UCLA coaches. But it's not going to be easy for UCLA, I'll tell you that much. It's going to be a lot more difficult than it was before. UCLA's schedule is really going to pick up after this week. I mean, Maryland is no slouch. Maryland is a really good team as well. Granted, they've lost 2 in a row, so maybe UCLA has the advantage in that one. But after Maryland, we're going to get into it, but after Maryland, you have number 3 Indiana. You have, after Indiana, you have number 25 Nebraska. After that, you have number 1 Ohio State. After that, you have Washington, who's not ranked but receives 36 votes for the top 25. And then you have number 20, USC. So it's definitely going to be a tough road ahead for UCLA, but let's see how their remaining opponents did, starting with Maryland. Maryland, as I said, they are coming off of 2 straight losses. I mean, they were one of the hottest teams to start the season. They started the year 4-0. But in that 4-0 start, they beat Wisconsin in a pretty handily as well. But over the last 2 weeks, they lost a 20-point lead to Washington, and they narrowly lost to Nebraska this week. A couple weeks ago, ESPN's analytics had UCLA being heavy favorites against Maryland, but the tables have turned. UCLA is one of the hottest teams in the nation. Maryland has conceded 2 straight losses. They were close losses, but right now, ESPN gives the Bruins a 49.8% chance to win, which is a true toss-up. I will say that this game is going to be a little bit more difficult than I bet people are, projecting. Maryland lost 2 in a row, but they were against really good opponents, and they were pretty close losses. The first one was a 4-point loss. Second one was a 3-point loss. Both of them were against UCLA opponents, Washington and Nebraska. So if you want to watch film on that, you can double up and get film on both teams. I think it's going to be tough for UCLA, but if UCLA plays how they have against Michigan State and against Penn State, I do think that they could come away with a win. Up next, after that, Indiana. Obviously, they moved to number 3. They're the biggest winners of the week, I think, in the college football landscape. And they went into Eugene against Oregon as the number 17. Oregon was number 3, and they beat them. And they took that number 3 spot. They're kind of solidifying their spot as one of the best teams in the nation. UCLA takes on the Hoosiers on the road after Maryland, which is just in 2 weeks. So, Maryland probably going to be a loss. I mean, Maryland's been a really, really good team, especially as of late. And then now we're moving on to Nebraska, obviously, moved into the top 25. They are number 25. They beat Maryland, despite Dylan Raiola throwing 3 interceptions. The Cornhuskers were able to come away with a win, and they beat Maryland. An interesting thing about this Maryland matchup, I think, is that Nebraska, they beat Michigan State last week. They beat Maryland this week. UCLA played against Michigan State this week. They play against Maryland this coming week. So it's I don't know if you're into that kind of stuff, but it's notable. It's notable when Michigan State lost to Nebraska, leading into their game against UCLA. They had lost 2 straight. Maryland lost to Nebraska. They're coming in against UCLA, and they've lost 2 straight. So I do think that UCLA definitely has the momentum advantage, if anything. Move on to Ohio State. Not much else we can say about this. Number 1 team in the nation, still number 1 team in the nation. Really no contest or argument for that. They are handily the best team in the nation right now. They beat number 17 Illinois 34-16, and they've yet to show signs of slowing down. An interesting thing, though, is that they don't have a ranked opponent left on their schedule, so they very well may finish the season undefeated. And, of course, one of those remaining opponents is UCLA. I think UCLA, UCLA plays them on the road, so going to be another tough matchup. I did write something about predicting UCLA's rest of the season. It's going to be a difficult one. Maybe we'll talk about it in tomorrow's episode. But let's move on to Washington. Quarterback Demond Williams, he has been really showing that he's one of the better quarterbacks in the nation. He had a career game against Rutgers, threw for 402 yards, ran for 136. They beat Rutgers 38-19, and they're pretty, they're rising. They're a rising team, much like Maryland, though, at the beginning of the season. A lot of power rankings and projections thought that Washington was going to be a worse team than UCLA. Obviously, that flipped. UCLA is obviously a much, less talented team than Washington, but who knows? I mean, UCLA, they're certainly rising, and by the time that they play each other in the Rose Bowl in Week 13, could very well be an even matchup. So looking forward to that one. And lastly, let's go to USC. USC, we said it. They moved up to number 20 in the nation. They beat number 15 Michigan 31-13. One of the bigger wins of the college football week. And USC is back in the top 25. They lost it a couple weeks ago, but they're back in with a huge win. They play number 13 Notre Dame this week, so another test. That's 3 straight ranked opponents for the Trojans. But they play against UCLA in the last game of the season, and I don't want to give away too much because we're going to talk about my predictions in tomorrow's episode. But this game could very well have a lot of implications, especially if UCLA tries to make a run at a bowl game this season. So we're going to keep our eye on that. And that's all we have for today's episode. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. And we'll see you tomorrow.